Boys Regionals begins this week across the great state of West Virginia. Teams all across the Mountain State are aiming for a spot in the Boys State Basketball Tournament in Charleston coming up the week of the 21st, with the championships being held on Saturday, March 21st inside the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center. One of those teams that are aiming for that one of 8 spots in the Class AA State Basketball Tournament are the Charleston Catholic Irish, and we are pleased to be joined this week by the boys head basketball coach of the Irish, head coach Hunter Moles. Coach, welcome to the program.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, TK.
So, Coach, to start, obviously you guys started the season 2-3. To this point, you've won 14 of your last 17 games. Biggest difference or biggest flip in momentum that you've seen with this group from the first 5 games compared to the last 17?
Just a lot of growth. I think growth has been our number one word. Just trying to grow each week. Had some guys out early on, and then just guys starting to find their role. We also talked about a big balance in having fun but working hard. And there in the beginning, we might have been a little bit working too much hard and not having enough fun. And so you got to balance those things. So when we figured out that balance and just tried to keep growing, and then obviously just started shooting better, start playing better as a team, and finding ways to win. And you get a couple big wins, and it could lead you, give you a little confidence. And I think that helped us on early on. Got a couple big wins, and like you said, we've won a lot lately, and just want to keep that rolling in the postseason.
Obviously, for people that don't know your background, this program is pretty much built on just being intense, physical, whole 9 yards. Gets it done defensively mainly. But you mentioned trying to balance that with the fun aspect of it. What stood out to you when trying to balance the fun part, but also trying to remain your all's identity and being physical?
Yeah, I mean, this year we've played more zone defense than we've probably ever had in the past 7 years here at Charleston Catholic. So we've switched up the defense a little bit. We changed defenses on you, but also I found that these guys play defense a little bit more intense, harder, like we like to when they're making shots. So we got to, put a little more emphasis on shooting in practice and make sure that we're knocking some shots down. Because when we're knocking shots down and we get into a rhythm, I think offensively we're pretty good. We're way more balanced than we've ever been. We've always had good scores here. We've had the all-time leading scorer in Jalen Turner. We had a guy in Aiden Satterfield, 6'7" guy that could shoot the ball anywhere, anytime. So now this year we have 4 guys averaging right around or double digits. So it's nice to have that, but that offense and that balance leads into good defense. And then when you got a guy like Zaden Ranson that could rebound it, he has over 800 rebounds, coming close to that 900 rebound mark. That always helps as well.
In regards to your balance offensively, what stands out to you about that? Because obviously that allows you to open up different things offensively. You got shooters like Wilkes, Aliff, Wilkes, McCaden Held. You mentioned your inside presence with Zaden, but just when you have different guys that can score the ball on any given night, does that kind of make your game plan a little bit easier on that end of the floor?
Oh, for sure, because you have confidence. You know that, okay, maybe this guy, it's not his night. It's going to be somebody's night. Someone's going to have their night. And, we've had a couple games where, we haven't played well. And that's going to happen here and there. But we feel pretty comfortable versus man, versus zone. We have different types of plays, different types of offenses, different guys that can make different types of shots. We can hit catch and shoot threes. We can do it off the dribble. We have post players. So we just had a lot of different ways to score, and that helps you win big games. Guys are comfortable playing in the 40s, but we're also comfortable in the 60s or 70s, and we haven't always had that either. So I think this team has just showed a lot of growth through the season, and offensively they're really talented when you look at it that way.
What's the one thing that stands out to you about this group in year 7 for you compared to the previous 6 teams that you had?
Probably just I know I keep saying it, but the growth, right? You start out 2-3, and we didn't make the state tournament last year. So for guys at their age, it's tough for them to step up and say, hey, we're still okay. We're going to be fine. We're going to ultimately we're going to keep working and getting better. It would have been easy for all those guys just to sit and say, you know what, this just isn't for us. We're not going to try hard. We're just going to care about us and our individual success. And they didn't do that, and it shows, and team success first, and then that will lead to individual success. So just their overall growth has been great. I don't know if we've ever started that slow and then have that comeback like we have, but these guys are a tight-knit group. They've had a lot of seniors. We have a sophomore, McCaden Held, that plays, but a good group of seniors. So these guys have grown up together, and it means something to them. They've been to school together for so long now. Like, they really want to go out and go out the right way. So I think they just realized that and have really stepped up.
So I can probably put two and two together with going out the right way, which probably means ending up in the state tournament, potentially on Championship Saturday. But in regards to last season and the way that it ended, how did you kind of see a different energy or a different spark in your group during the offseason leading into this 25-26 season?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to blame injuries, but we did have a lot of injuries last year. You know, when you had an all-state guard, Max Wilkes, go out with an ACL in the second scrimmage, that changed our team. It changed our whole offense. It changed everything we did. And Pat Arball, 6'7" guy, started getting rolling, then he does his ankle. So we just never got into a flow last year. But we got a lot of guys varsity minutes, and we got a lot of guys to realize what it takes to win big games. So going into the offseason, got into the weight room a lot. A guy like Wilkes Aliff, he was in the weight, I think it was 2 weeks out. We took a week off, and then we had guys like him, Garrett Seville, Vance, Ranson. They're all in the weight room, and that also helped build team chemistry. So that weight room was big for us. Played in a little bit of shootouts. I'd like to do more, but we got a lot of multi-sport athletes. So we got guys that are playing baseball and soccer and whatnot. But they knew when basketball season come, they were 100% dialed in. They were 100% committed, and they've done every single. Obviously, we've had a couple bad practices, but most of our practices are very intense. They're very locked in, and as a coach, you know, you just appreciate that.
Talk to me about this stretch that you had just a couple weeks ago. You lose 2 games in about a 5-game span, one to the number 1 team in AA, Wilkes Central, and then just 3 or 4 games later, you lose to Nitro, who's been ranked within the top 10 in Class AAA for a few weeks this season. How much of a difference have you seen in your group's mindset following those 2 losses in 5 games to now winning your last 5 games with wins against Buffalo, Polka, Scott, Huntington, and Huntington St. Joe?
Yeah, I think after the Nitro game, we were all frustrated. We just all thought we could do a little better. We haven't been great on Mondays, thankfully. No, there's no more Monday games. So today's Monday, though, so practice might be a little iffy. We'll see how it goes. But haven't been great on Mondays, and we just didn't show up versus Nitro. But we said after that we weren't losing anymore. We just said there's no more losing. We've done our losing. We've learned from it. Now we need to go win games, and we had to go finish the regional games first, locked in that 1 seed, and then this past week was, hey, let's go after these games. Let's try to get better versus some really good teams in Huntington and Huntington St. Joe. So those were fun games to be a part of. Got to play them at home as well. Always, fun to play in front of the crowd. So we just we got to a point in the season where, guys, it's winning time. So let's lock in and let's find a way to win. There's no more. We don't have room to lose anymore. So we've already done that. So just go out and win. And guys have really done that.
You mentioned locking the 1 seed. This is a very difficult region in Class AA, and it just seems like anybody that comes out of this region is always a lot more prepared compared to a lot of teams that make the Final 8. Importance of getting to the number 1 seed in the region and now also hold on to home court advantage all the way up until the state tournament.
Yeah, I think the 1 or the 2 is important because you get the home seed. I mean, we still have to, play the winner of Rome versus Sissonville. And then if you're lucky enough to win that, you have to play the winner of Logan versus Scott. That's not an easy win. There's not an easy road to the state tournament. So even as a 2 seed, Wayne and Buffalo, let's say if they do take care of business, they're the higher seed, and then they play. That's a big time game to go to the state tournament. So the big part is the home court. But at the end of the day, once that ball gets tossed up in the air, you just got to go play. And we just hope that we put our guys in enough scenarios this year to put them in enough difficult situations for when that adversity hits that we're ready to go. And during practice, we're going to work on our late game situations. We know it'll be a barn burner, and we'll just try to do everything we can to go and find a way to make it to the Civic Center.
You mentioned the scheduling side of things. I know you're not someone that ducks or avoids any kind of tough game if that makes your team better. Is there a science behind that? Because, again, you've played teams like Nitro, Huntington, Wilkes Central. The list can go on and on and on. But what's the science behind that, especially early on in the season and especially when you get late into the season?
I think scheduling always starts with your regional opponents, and then you go from there. Luckily, I've been doing this for a little bit now to where we have some teams that we just flip locations each year, and they're good programs year in and year out, like a Fairmont Senior. So really start with your regional opponents. We play in some shootouts that always give us some good opponents as well. Try to play down at West Virginia State a couple times a year, even though we haven't played well down there, like we talked about earlier. But we like to try to play there, and we'd like to play in the Little General Shootout down in Beckley because it plays for a trophy, and it's during the holidays, so it motivates the guys. But anybody, it was hard to find people to schedule when we had J. Allen Turner and Jeff Reynolds and Gio Cinco and Max Wilcox and Zaden Ranson coming back. But besides that, most teams will play us, and we just try to put together a good competitive schedule, understanding that you might not win them all, but you're going to put yourself in those adversity situations to make you better in the long run. But you do want to give yourself enough confidence. I've also learned you can't make it too hard on the guys. You don't want to lose too much because then they start losing confidence in themselves. So there is a balance to it. I don't think I'm perfect at it whatsoever, but I think just try to give yourself a tough schedule, and it'll make you better in the long run.
Is that a respect thing then, whenever teams aren't really wanting to play you, whenever you are pursuing them? Is that more of a respect thing, or what goes into that in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just depends who you're asking to, though,
True.
right? It just depends. And it depends who you have coming back. Like I said, a lot of our teams, we're just renewing that game every year, no matter if we're going to be really good, if they're going to be really good. So you just try to, but sometimes it is a respect thing. Obviously, when you're a state runner-up and you have 5 starters coming back, that's going to be a tough to schedule. And then last year we didn't make the state tournament, so I guess everyone was assuming we wouldn't be as good. But so it just depends. I don't think you should run away from competition every single game, but just challenge your guys. Just challenge them.
Let's talk about this team, and let's start at the macro and then work our way in. From a theme perspective, I know you keep mentioning the growth side of things, but what's something in your mind that whenever you look at this team 5, 10, 15 years from now, you point out a specific theme, and that's what you'll ride with whenever you look back at this 26 team?
That's an interesting question. That's a great question, because I think there's more than one. I think there's more than one. This season has really flown by. To start off early on, and just some of those losses early on, and we were starting practices off running a ladder, which is 11, 22, 33. We were just starting off running, and we don't do that anymore. But I think about that a little bit. I think about the big win, the first time we ever beat Fairmont at Fairmont, and then just getting those guys to believe a little bit. I think about recently the win at Scott, and how bad of a coach I was that night, and just the next day at practice, and just the conversations we had as a team and individually, and guys just being honest with their coach and saying, "Coach, this is what we need from you." Me being honest with them, "This is what I need from you," and just building that relationship. I think we've all grown closer throughout the year. So there's a lot of those. Maybe maybe there's more to come, and maybe we'll remember one as years go on, but there's a lot of those right now that have been big key moments to our year.
You mentioned the two-way street of the communication line with the players kind of communicating to you, this is what we need to do, and then obviously you giving it back towards them and saying, okay, this is what I need out of you guys. How unique is that as a coach to see that two-way street, that two line of communication being so, I don't really want to say positive, but more so fluent, and and you're able to be transparent with one another?
Yeah, I think they respect it, and I respect it as well. I don't know. I just think these guys, they go to a really good school. They're put into a scenario where they're expected to be great, and they're okay with that. You know what I mean? They're okay with taking some hard coaching, but they also want to know that I believe in them. And sometimes, every once in a while, you got to tell them, like, hey, man, you did a good job at this, this, and this. So I think they understand that I'm going to coach them hard. I'm going to coach the X's and O's, but I just got to make sure I let them know, hey, I believe in you, and I wouldn't want to coach anybody else. And as long as I do that, they'll run through a brick wall for me. And so we just keep building those. But I've had some of these guys now for going on 4 years. We have some state champions on these teams. So these guys know what it takes as well. So they just got to keep that intensity and practice up. But they're fun guys to be around. Sometimes I found that talking a little bit too much before practice isn't good for us because we get to joking around too much, and then we have to flip the switch, and we're not, and it's not happening quick enough. So sometimes I'll stay up here in the office a little longer, just so I'll leave the talking and the joking and the having fun for after practice.
Let's talk about a couple of your players, and let's start with a question I like to ask a lot of coaches, and that is, who's a guy in your mind that you've kind of sat back a few times this season and said, wow, this kid's really impressed me just in regards to how much they've become more consistent and more comfortable within their game?
For sure. I think there's multiple guys you could say, but I think it's definitely Wilkes Aliff. Wilkes Aliff has had a really big year. He's actually leading us in scoring, 14 a game. We want him to rebound more, but everyone's rebounding well. He's rebounding around 4 a game. He's doing it in multiple ways. He gets to the free throw line the most for us. He shot a huge 3 against Huntington, ran a play for him, no hesitation, and knocked down a 3 to give us the lead and essentially the game winner. And he's got some dunks this season. He guards the other team's best player most nights, unless it's a different type of matchup and we need Z to guard a big or McCaden to guard the guard. But so he's just doing a lot of different things. He's the type of guy that has played in a state championship game, and just he might not get enough credit for that. You know, he played on that team. When Max was hurt for a couple games, Wilkes Aliff started on a state championship team. So he just has to believe in himself, and we believe in him. And he's really had a big role this year, and he's starting to handle the ball well. I remember a film session early on. One of the first games, we said, Wilkes, you only dribbled, with your left hand X amount of times. And he worked on that. And then you'll see a drive, and he'll take the ball straight left hand, drive all the way with his left hand and finish. And we're like, that's growth. That's what, keep talking about that growth. And, just love that guy to death of just how he keeps staying with it. Sometimes he gets frustrated and he just keeps staying with it, finding ways to win, whether that's defense or offense. And he stepped up a lot more as a leader this year as well.
A guy that's had a lot of experience for you, especially playing in that state title game, Zaden Ranson.
Yeah.
A guy that's been a multi-year selection, All-State and All-Kanawha Valley as well. A guy that you mentioned, over 1,000 career points, 800 assists. At this point, he's done just about anything that any kid at his age would love to achieve. Having a guy like that, after having years with J. Allen Turner and Aiden Satterfield, what has Zaden Ranson meant to this program?
Man, he's made his mark. That's for sure, right? Like, he's made his mark. He has to be mentioned easily with the Aiden Satterfields, the Zion Sudeth, the J. Allen Turners. He's right there. 1,000 points, 800 rebounds, 200 assists. But I can't recall if he's ever had a bad practice. Like, I don't know if the guys ever come in and just, man, Zaden was off today. He's never had a bad practice. He's the same person every day. And he just motivates me to be great. Hopefully eventually, and we get to this point, we've had conversations. I don't want to talk about what his goals are yet. But it really don't have anything to do with winning a state championship. And I hope we get to that point. He cares about his brothers. He cares about his teammates more than people would ever imagine. He's unselfish. We're telling him to shoot the ball more, So, but yeah, he is Charleston Catholic basketball, man. He plays defense the right way. He rebounds it. He talks. He's extremely coachable. So he's just, I think people get tired of me talking great about him at this point. And it is what it is. I only got 3 or 4 more weeks to do it. So I'm going to just keep on doing it. But he's a type of player as a coach that you just remember for the rest of your life. I mean, you really will, because he's the same person every single day. He started for me since a freshman, and he's known his role. You got to think he has 1,000 points. He played on the same team with the all-time leading scorer, J. Allen Turner. Max Wilcox, who had 842 points in 3 seasons, would have been a 1,000-point scorer if he didn't get injured. So and then he also gets 1,000. So his first 2 years, scoring wasn't really his role until he needed to be. He's a team player, man. He'll do whatever the team needs. Just love that guy to death.
And then the other guy I want to talk about, McCaden Hill, a guy that made the All-Kanawha Valley rookie team a year ago as a freshman, now a sophomore. Biggest difference you've seen in his game from where we've been where we are at this point in this season compared to where we were a year ago?
Just mental growth. I know I keep saying growth and whatnot. I know I keep saying it. It's a theme, but it's hard not to talk about. The kid has grown up so much. He's grown up dramatically. I mean, he took a couple bad shots last game, and probably a month or two, and definitely last year, he wouldn't have been able to come back from that. He sat down for 4 minutes. For him to come back from that and finish and give us productive and find a way to win, that's his growth. So, yeah, he's shooting the ball better. Yeah, he can score. Yeah, he can dribble. His defense has actually improved a lot. I'd like to give him more credit on defensive end. He's really guarded some other players' best guards, I think, pretty well for the most part. A couple of them, as a team, it's team success too. But he stepped up on defense. But just mentally finding ways to win. It's not all about McCaden averaging 30. It's more about, McCaden, how do we win? And then your individual success will come. He's really bought into that.
2 more questions for you. Let's start with the theme of March, since this is the early portions of March. We're still a couple weeks away from the Boys State basketball tournament in Charleston. First off, what's it going to take for this team to get to the state tournament? But then following up with that, in a loaded Class AA field, what's it going to take for this team to end up on championship Saturday and have an opportunity to compete for a state basketball title?
You got to go one day at a time, TK. You're going way too fast for me, bro.
Well,
one day at a time, one day at a time. So we just got to go beat Ronan Sissonville to start, obviously. But essentially, to get to the state tournament, we do got to take it one day at a time, and we got to continue to grow. And we're at a certain point in the season where we have to stay in physical shape, and we have to work on our late game situations. We need to be mentally sharp for whatever is thrown our way. What happens if this guy gets in foul trouble? What happens if this guy can't hit a shot? What happens if they go into this type of zone? We just need to be mentally sharp, and that starts in practice. So we've got 4 days of practice before we play. And then we're going to have 3 days. We have longer periods of practices, so we need to be sharp in that. And then just trust ourselves. Believe in yourselves. We've been doing it all year. Just go out and do it again. And then if you want to make a state championship game, you got to get a little lucky. You got to get a little lucky, and we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But we really just want to get there first.
And then finally, I can't go doing this interview without mentioning the shrine that we're sitting in right now. I know this is your office and this is where you work, and you come before and after games and practices, but the shrine that you have in here, talk about it, the importance of it. What's it mean to you, just in the grand scheme of things in your 7 years being here?
Man, it's a place that I will come and sit when I need to, and just sit and just look around. And sometimes I'll just reread an article, or just look back and think about a memory, or think of something that might help us win the next game coming up, something I remember about this player did this in this game, and I'll mention it to our guys now. And it's just a tradition thing too. I don't want, when guys come in here, I want them to know who Thomas Blades is. I want them to know who Anthony Minardi is. Not the guys that they've been getting all the awards and stuff. Alex Fizer, John McComas, right there. I want them to know who those guys are, because everyone's role has been very important to this room and being up here. It's not always about, Aiden Satterfield named Class A captain. It's not A to Z. It's those other guys behind the scenes. And so just want everyone to come up here and see, like, hey, man, I want to get up on this wall. I want to be a part of this. And it's just a place that I love to sit. I love to look at. And something that I got a lot of my dad's stuff up here, too. So a lot of pictures of my dad, and just think he would love to sit in here with me too. So I always think about him too. But yeah, love this room, love this office, and want to keep adding on. But you're gonna have to tell Miss Hoyer she's gonna have to build me a bigger office if I stay here much longer. We just keep filling it up.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time as always. Hopefully we get to chat some more as the weeks go by leading into the state basketball tournament in Charleston in the next couple of weeks. But like you said, one day at a time.
Yes, sir.
You guys will know later this week who you guys will play for your all's first game. But best of luck to you all, and hopefully we get to talk some more.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. That's the boys head basketball coach of the Charleston Catholic Irish boys basketball program. Be sure to check out our coverage from now until Championship Saturday with the boys state championships in Charleston on March 21st by going to our website, wvgazettemail.com. Follow us on Twitter at GazMailSports. That's G-A-Z Mail Sports. And be sure to follow us on Facebook at HD Media Sports.